In this video, we're going to use Trimble Sketchup to create a simple house design project that we'll be able to export out to our rovers through Trimble Siteworks. First thing we're going to do is open up Trimble Sketchup. I'm going to use urban planning, which measurements are in feet, and we'll go up and choose a rectangle on the menu. All we got to do is draw a simple rectangle on the X and Y axis. Once that's drawn, we can go down and type in our dimensions for what we want to have for our house plans. The house plan we're using is going to be 52 feet long and 26.67 feet wide. We can see up in the corner the house plans. As we zoom up, we see our outline of our house that we are working on. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to select on the perimeter of the house and I'm going to move that out 5 feet for our footings and for working outside of the wall. After the line has been offset, we can push and pull, and we can pull the wall up so that we can get our depth or our height of our basement. Once we pull it up so far, we can go down in the corner for our distance once again, and we can type in that we want a 9-foot basement, and it's 9 feet. We don't need all these things in the middle. We want the outside edge primarily, so we can go and delete out some of these lines and interior walls that are in here. We'll delete out some of those lines and anything that we don't need for laying out our basement. Anything that we highlight blue, we can right click and then erase. It's designed for more people that are using SketchUp and they want to be able to export their designs directly out from SketchUp to Siteworks 1.73 version. Once we have all of our lines, interior lines deleted, now what I like to do is select on the top of the wall and I'm going to move it out. I want to lay it back at a 1.5 to 1 slope for a safe slope so that it can be dug without having any cave-ins. Since it's a 9-foot basement, a 1.5 to slope is 13.5 feet going out, because 9 times 1.5 is 13.5 feet. And we lay them all out so it opens up and it makes a nice safe slope to be laid out. Once we have our basement all pretty much designed right now, we can spin it and look, and it looks good. Spinning around, we can see how the slopes all go. And just to make sure, we can grab our tape measure and we can click around in a couple spots just to make sure that our dimensions are still correct. They're 26.67. Now we'll measure the other one, make sure that we're still at 52 feet. Right there, 52 feet, good. Now our next topic is to be able to export. So we need Trimble Site Contractor Extension Exporter brought in the SketchUp. And then we got to have a control point. We create 2 control points. And with those control points, they're just going to be fictional. Northing and eastings, your standard 5,000, 5,000, and we'll give it an elevation of 100. We name the project. Give the job title a name. Home with a slope. And the design name will be floor plan. Then we just export that to a file and we put it in our Trimble Synchronizer data folder and it is exported. Then that can be put into your Siteworks data collector and we'll be ready to start staking it out. So now we're going to go and open up Siteworks and open up the project. With Siteworks, version 1.73. We've got our project is open, and we'll create a new work order. The work order, we can name it House Layout Sketchup. Click Finish. Select our design. Our design is floor plan. That's what we selected in the SketchUp. And we're going to set up our rover, our R780. And we're going to use Centerpoint RTX on this layout with current. So we have no base station out there. And we're going to change our GNSS horizontal and vertical precision from 82,000s up to 1800s. Use the quick release and accept that. Once the rover is setup is complete, we're going to calibrate. We only have 2 points to calibrate to. So we'll first click on the Add button and select on one control point number 2. That control point will be the first corner of the house, wherever you decide you want the house to go. And then we start measuring our 15-second static shot. This is for the first corner of the house. Since these control points are fictional, you can go out and find whatever corner of the house you want. You know where you want it. That's where we'll stake our first control point to. And then the second one we'll go to is control point number 1. And with control point number 2, that's our beginning location. And the second control point number 1, will be rotation, scale and rotation. So by just calibrating the 2 points, we'll be able to set this project up, a very basic house plan, laying out for digging a basement. We do our 15-second static shot once again. Once that 15 seconds is up, we have 2 points that are calibrated, and we say finish and accept the calibration. Even though we get a warning that says we should have 3, we're still going to go with 2 because we have first point is point and location, second one is rotation. We have our site calibrated. After my project has been calibrated, I change my main screen view to plan view. Then I go to the right side of my screen and select on map options. Under map options, I'm going to go to the middle of the screen and choose on images to import an image for a background of my project. Select on the plus icon to be able to choose the file which contains my image. I look in my D drive and go down to my file, open up my PDF. It is page 1, so I hit import. And now my file is missing the world file, so I need to georeference it. So at the georeference, I pick one image on my PDF, and I zoom up to one corner of my basement. Not quite far enough. I'll zoom up a little bit tighter, try to get that right on the point. Then I do the same thing on my line work for my design. Once I have both of those selected, I zoom out and go to the opposite corner of my basement. Not quite far enough. Zoom in a little bit closer. Click right on that corner, and then I'll do the same thing on the design. Then I hit accept and accept. Now we can see my PDF is referenced behind my design so that we can use that to help us understand how the house lays out from our SketchUp design. Now to know the depth of our basement, it showed that we were at about on grade. So I want to be in the basement about a 7.5 foot deep, so there's all the ground about 1.5 feet. So I do a 7.5 foot vertical offset below. And now we see we have a cut of 7.5 feet. So all this was done with fictional coordinates and a fictional elevation. And now we have our cuts and fills for our depth. I want to see how the line exported out of SketchUp. And we find that the line is segmented. It only goes for each corner. So if we want to be able to make a line all the way around, then we're going to have to create a new line. So to create a new line, I'm going to go up and use my Kogo menu, use the hamburger menu, go to Kogo, and I'm going to create points and arcs. If I want to point on each corner so I can make a line out of them, I'm going to select on endpoints of lines and arc, and I click on my line and accept each segmented line, and I'm going to name those corner 1. And now I created those 2 points. I'll select on the other long line at the top, and I accept on that one, and it creates points at each one of those corners. Now I want to make a line out of all those points. I'll select on the icon for create line and boundary. It's a break line, and I'll name it wall line. Then I'll tap on my 4 points, select on my corner, once again corner, corner, choose corner number 1, and then back to the beginning and accept. Now we have a break line all the way around, so I can select that as either a stake line or I can stake it as a reference line. Next thing I want to try is exporting out to a machine. So I go to Data Management, Export to Machine, and I'm going to select the design. Then I'll check my machine for earthworks and my active designs basement excavation. Accept. I cannot export it out because I calibrated with a RTX calibration. So if you're going to want to export your data out to a machine, make sure you calibrate it with either internet VRS corrections or a base station correction. We can see our cuts and fills now. We're at a cut of 7.5 feet to get down to our floor of our basement. We can see our points on each corner, all labeled. We switch back to 3D view, and we rotate the 3D view. I think this is a very simple way to make a design for different projects. If anybody has SketchUp experience, very easy, simple way to go out and create a design. Well, all in all, this is a pretty simple workflow for being able to create a design in SketchUp and export it out to your Siteworks data collector. It would be a great tool to be used for basement contractors and landscaping contractors that have drawings done in SketchUp. Thank you for watching the video. Hope this gives a little insight into alternatives for creating designs and exporting them out to Siteworks version 1.73.